This is the Slate Podcast, episode 29, take 1, and Slate.
Welcome back to the Slate Podcast, where we talk about movies, music, and media. I'm Jeff, and today I'm here with Dario.
Just
Dario,
you
what's
and
good,
I,
bro?
man. I don't know. It's just you and
Yeah.
I. George just got
I think
lost.
George, I found a note actually that said that he quit. So
Oh.
George is no longer with us. So
Good.
he's gone. So
Good.
because it's only you and me.
Yeah, there's too many Georges in this world. Okay, let's not say that. Let's not say that. But it's okay. He couldn't be here, which is fine.
Yeah.
But I think finally, well, the first time that I'm on the podcast to talk about media, which is part of our logo. So,
Yeah.
Jeff, you want to just get into it or what?
Yeah, let's not waste any time. And the reason why I asked you to make a video today with me is because there's been a couple events and things happening at Disney, specifically with Marvel, that I believe is going to affect not just the movies, but the whole Marvel brand as a whole,
Yeah.
for good or for bad. That's going to be for you and the people watching to decide. So, what I'm referring to, and maybe if people that keep up with this stuff, and I'm gonna give a quick background to how we got here. So, but the recent news has been things along the lines of this guy that goes by the name of Isaac Perlmutter. You probably never heard of this guy. I just learned about this guy. He's the reason why we have Marvel movies in the first place. He was
Interesting.
fired from Disney. He was laid off, and then another person over at Disney that was part of the Marvel team, Victoria Alonso. You probably also never heard of this person. She was the person pretty much in charge of overseeing the special effects over at Marvel. She also got fired.
But why? Hold on.
So,
What's going on? Why is everybody getting fired?
I think this is part of something that Disney's doing right now. They actually just eliminated about 7,000 jobs over at Disney.
Jesus.
So things are not doing good for the whole Disney brand, I guess. So they were part of this elimination. And it's gotten people talking because, and I'll explain why, but there's been also other things going on. Like they're delaying movies now. They're delaying the TV shows. But I also want to give a quick background. So especially on the Perlmutter, that's a hard name. I'm going to call him Mr. P from now on.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Okay.
I actually looked at that name. I was like Pearl
It's a hard name.
Mutter.
Perlmutter. Let's just call him Mr. P. So let me take you back real quick to give some background. So back in the 90s, when Marvel was just a company on its own, right? They were just making comics. They were struggling financially, and so one of the heads at the time was Mr. P here, Perlmutter, and to get Marvel out of the slump, pretty much, he's part of the reason why Marvel started selling the rights to characters like the X-Men, Spider-Man, to Sony and Fox, and that's how they were able to not go down, by selling the rights. So he's actually the reason why Sony owns Spider-Man today.
So is that a
Um,
good thing or a bad thing? Because I get
It
it that they
depends on
needed
how you
it,
see it.
but like
It
looking
depends.
at it now, we could have
Yeah.
those movies by Marvel, but it's owned by Disney.
Well,
So I mean Sony.
Right. So that happens in the 90s, late 90s. Go through the 2000s, Marvel starts making movies. He's one of the heads, Mr. P. In 2009, wait, let me go back. 2008, Marvel Entertainment, the brand Marvel Entertainment, they sell the toys, the merchandise, anything Marvel. They start making movies. It's still just Marvel Entertainment. Then he's also Mr. P. He's also part of the reason that Marvel was sold to Disney in 2009. Disney buys it. So now the whole Marvel brand is under Disney. So that happens in 2009. We keep going.
Wait, are you sure?
Yeah, 2009. Disney buys Marvel. And he's part of the reason why, too. He was one of the big decision makers. Like, yeah, we're selling. So now Marvel becomes part of Disney. Now, this is where Marvel Entertainment and Marvel Studios are two separate things. Marvel Studios is the studio under Disney making the movies. Marvel Entertainment is they're selling the rights for games, toys, merchandise. You feel me? So, two separate things. Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, he's overseeing the Marvel Studios, the movies, and he puts Kevin Feige on top. And then you have Mr. P, who's also still the top at the Marvel Entertainment, and he doesn't like Kevin Feige too much. He wanted Kevin Feige to get fired. Actually, in 2015, this is documented. Like Bob Iger wrote it in his book. Um, they didn't like each other. I think the rumor is that per murder, he wanted to incorporate the TV shows with the movies, and Kevin Feige was like, "No, like stay away. I'm making my movies," and that's why you saw back in like 2012, 13, you had shows being made like Agents of Shield, the Netflix shows. That was all under Marvel Entertainment, the Marvel Television division, and he didn't like Kevin Feige. Like they were bumping heads. Um, Also, he's the reason, Mr. P, he's part of the reason why that Inhuman show that was horrible, that nobody liked, got made and got canceled. so so in the mainstream in the public eye, this guy is like almost like the bad guy, like the villain. He doesn't like Kevin Feige. We all love Kevin Feige. But what most people don't, and this is where it gets interesting, because what most people don't know is that while he was also running the Marvel Entertainment, the Marvel Television, he still had a saying in the movies from all the way from the Iron Man 1 movie all the way until 2015. And that was the year that he wanted Kevin Feige gone. And Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, he interfered. He was like, "No, we're keeping Kevin Feige. You go over there, run the comics, the other stuff. Kevin Feige is gonna pretty much oversee the movies and stuff." Then we cut forward, and keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Mr. P Perlmutter, he stopped overseeing the movies in 2015. That's around the time Doctor Strange, the first Guardians movie. So like Phase 3. Keep that
Mm-hmm.
in mind. We keep going. We keep going. 2020, the CEO of Disney, Bob Iger, steps away. There's a new CEO, and that he we start getting all these movies now and all these television thrown at us, and this is like almost phase 4 now, and you know that it has a really bad reputation,
Mm-hmm.
that we got all these movies thrown at us, all these TV shows, the quality drops, special effects look horrible. This is under the new CEO, and apparently Kevin Feige didn't have a lot of saying in a lot of these things. 2022, like last year, that CEO, Chapek, steps away after most people say he ruined Marvel when he stepped in and
Mm-hmm.
started making all these decisions. Then Bob Iger comes back last year in November. Then you fast forward a few months later. Remember, Bob Iger told Mr. Perlmutter to stay in your corner, like leave Kevin Feige alone. Now we fast forward to a few months later. Ant-Man happens. It bombs. The Marvel brand, it's starting to get a little shaky. People are saying, "Are we tired of superhero movies?" And what happens now? Perlmutter gets fired. Now Disney is gonna take the whole Marvel brand under Disney. This will affect comic books, everything Marvel. But the thing where people start seeing like, and this is where you decide: is this for good or bad? All these changes. Then Victoria Alonso gets fired, the lady that was overseeing all the special effects. And what have you been hearing ever since, like almost after Endgame? All these
Yeah.
movies look crap, like
Yep.
like crap, like the special effects. The person who's supposed to be responsible for this gets fired now. So I guess this is where you ask, so we can discuss this now. You start seeing all these changes. Do you think this is like Marvel being like, or Disney being like, we're listening to the people, we're seeing the results, we see that Ant-Man just bombed. Let's make moves now and let's not sacrifice Marvel going down. Like, do you think these are changes that will also the fact that they're delaying movies now and the shows? If you remember, um, they announced like 5 shows for this year. It was the Secret Wars, not the Secret Wars,
You want to look
Secret
it up?
Invasion.
You want to look it up real quick
Yeah,
to get it
I
right?
got it right here.
Okay.
The Secret Invasion show with what's his name, Samuel Jackson.
Okay.
He's gonna lead that show. The X-Men animated show. We were supposed to get Ironheart this year, and What If season 2, and Loki season 2. The only show that has a release date this year is the Secret Invasion.
So they
All
push
these other
everything.
shows
They push everything else
is on
back.
hold.
Wow.
And Miss Marvel got delayed to November. It was supposed to come out in June or July. Guardians is still coming out, but you start seeing all these things, movies being delayed, people getting fired, per murder. Now this is like, oh, no, I'm taking the whole Marvel brand under me.
Who's
Do you
saying that?
think?
Disney?
No, this is like, is this what you can say about this? Like when they fired the lady that was overseeing all the special effects, and when they fired Per Murder, and now they're taking the whole Marvel brand under, because he was overlooking everything else Marvel, Marvel Comics, Marvel merchandise, Marvel the games. Now Disney's gonna take over all of this. Like, what do you think that means for the comics, for the movies, like, and also for the movies is like a separate question. Like them firing all these people, like, do you think Marvel is like about to say, okay, let's stop, let's take more time with the movies, like?
I mean, the thing that this makes me think of, honestly, is DC and James Gunn. And maybe they're looking at them and they're like, hold on, we actually have some competition coming now.
Oh,
Let's hold the trains and let's actually focus on quality, because obviously something needs to change. I mean, they
yeah.
changed after Endgame. I think everybody can agree everything went downhill. And now we're at a point where everything that comes out, people are pretty much saying it's trash. And no one's excited for Marvel. And so I actually see this as a good sign, because this is them saying something's not working. These people are not working. Whoever these are, somewhere along the line, we know that Disney is this huge company, and maybe they're very greedy, and let's go after all this. Let's just get the money. But now they're like, okay, let's hold off. Let's put everything in back. We got James Gunn over there. He left us. We know
He's
how
dangerous.
good. We know how good he is. He's going to DC. Let's stop the train of just putting trash movies, because that's just gonna bomb. And let's reassess. This
Let's
could be a
take
turning point.
because I don't know if you've also heard, like, this is confirmed. Like, people are coming out, people that work in special effects, and they are speaking out against Marvel. They're being like, yo, they're pushing us. Like,
Yeah.
it's too much work. Like, they want all these special effects done with these release dates, and they got like 10 movies, and they want us to do
Yeah.
all these things.
And shows. Don't forget the shows as well.
And the shows. And
Yep.
that was an article that came out that people were speaking out against Marvel. Like, yo, like, can y'all chill for a minute?
Yeah.
Like, people
Yeah.
overworking, overtime, and all these hours. And yeah, I was gonna ask you, because I also keep hearing people say that superhero fatigue is a thing.
That can
Do
happen.
you think that's a thing?
Yes, I think it is. I think people can get tired of the same thing. I mean, you can almost say that. I mean, it depends, because also, like, I'm thinking, like, that's like saying action movies fatigue, or like drama movie fatigues. Like, people don't really get tired of those type of movies. They're just waiting for someone to do something original, And I think since there's multiple, there's a multitude of studios making action films. There's a multitude of studio making drama, comedy. It's not just for example, Marvel. I think what the fatigue is that Marvel has come up with a formula, and they keep reusing the same thing, and I think that's probably what people are getting tired of. Not so much maybe the superhero aspect. I kind of just changed my mind on as I was saying it, but I'm like, maybe it's not the superhero fatigue. Maybe it's the Marvel fatigue. Maybe it's more specific because you can almost say that superhero movies are its own genre. And it's like that's like saying people are getting tired of action movies. People don't get tired of action movies. They just want somebody else to come in with a fresh take. We get tired of the same thing. And Marvel being the only thing putting out superhero movies, we're getting fatigue maybe just from their formula.
And yeah, I don't even know if you can call superhero movies a genre, because it's like, okay, look at Winter Soldier. Is Winter Soldier a superhero movie, or is it a political thriller movie?
It's a, I mean, that's the thing. You can mix and match. I think superhero is its own genre at this point. It's like action hero, superhero, but you're right. Because you can't take the superhero trope and apply it to different genres. Like, Batman is really a detective movie. But I guess the point is, like, you have to get other people a chance. You gotta change it up. You can't have the same dish and keep serving it to the same people and expect that they're just gonna love it forever. You gotta try something new. And again, like Marvel being the only one consistently putting stuff out, people are gonna get tired. And I think they're just looking at DC and getting a little scared and be like, we need to change that, because if we just keep pumping stuff out, it's not gonna keep working.
I think you nailed it, bro. Because I think competition is what makes you better. Like, perfect example in the gaming world. The games NBA 2K.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
I don't know if you were playing those games back in the day, but from like, and maybe I'll get corrected, but from like the late 90s, 2000s, until like 2008-9, NBA Live was the king. NBA Live, the game was dominating. Yeah. NBA Live 05, 06, 07. And then 2K was there, but they were always behind them. And then around 2K8, 2K9, it was like a flip. But it was almost like NBA Live had no competition, so they stopped trying. Mm-hmm. So then NBA 2K became the king. And now it's ironic because they've been dominating since like 2010, and now NBA 2K is at that same spot where they're not even trying. And people, what I hear is that they hate the games because they stopped trying because there's no competition.
That's funny.
So, ironically, maybe DC Studios might be what saves Marvel, because they're gonna look over and be like, yo, James Gunn is making bangers.
And we know that's a thing because that's what DC did as well. When they looked at Marvel and all this stuff, when Avengers movies were coming out, and they freaked out and they're like, oh, we gotta put Justice League out. Oh, we only got Superman. Let's do the Justice League anyway. Like, without like, they freaked out and they were adjusting depending on what other studios were doing. And that's just something that studios do. They keep a tab on what other people are doing. They're like, hey, let's get to it first.
Right. And really, in the end, you want both to win. Like,
I mean, there's so much content out there to be made, inspired by comic books, and and I mean, they are in the same genre, but it's not like Marvel can take DC characters and do a movie. It's like, if you want a DC movie, which is DC character movies, then you have to go to DC. If you want Marvel's, it's not like they both can make a Batman movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it is competition because you have to decide which movie you're gonna go watch, and not everybody has that money. And if you have a DC movie and a Marvel movie coming out at the same time, that's gonna be interesting. Actually, that's gonna be fun to see.
Yeah. Do you have any comments on how Disney's gonna affect just the overall Marvel brand? Like I said, like, now they're gonna be overlooking the comics and everything else.
They're gonna be
especially the comics. Like, that's really curious. I would like to see what other people in the comic world have to say about that. Like, how is Disney gonna affect? Like,
I'm not sure. I mean, I didn't realize that Disney bought Marvel that far back. Like, you're saying 2009. That's barely. That was when Iron Man 1 came out, or like a year after. I didn't know they owned it that early, or maybe they just weren't as involved. They just bought.
Maybe I'll get fact checked, but in the research I did, that's what I saw, that it was in 2009.
Because I remember when that came out, that Disney bought Marvel, because I was like, oh, there you go, something else that Disney owns. But I didn't realize it was that early on.
Yeah. Let me. I should probably just do a quick Google search just in case.
Okay.
When did Disney buy Marvel? 2009. Yeah.
Wow.
It says in
Okay.
2009, Walt Disney Company acquired Marvel Entertainment for $4 billion. I
Wow.
guess you know what it is. I think maybe they bought it in 2009, but it took all these years to get
Mhm.
approved. Because I also do remember, like later on, like a few
Mhm.
years ago, me being like, "Oh snap! Like it's
Mhm.
happening."
Yeah.
Like I remember that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's when Disney Plus came out, and then it's like,
Yep.
oh,
Yep.
now everything is gonna go to Disney Plus. You
Yep.
know. So I don't know.
For
I mean,
sure.
uh, Marvel was doing so good there for a moment, and now that you after you talked about all the behind the scenes stuff, how like the change in CEO and all that stuff makes sense why it declined, and I feel like, I mean, it's like what James Gunn was saying, like you gotta give power to the creatives, the creative people, the
Yeah,
directors.
yeah.
And I feel like Marvel was doing that, and then they kind of stepped away from that. I don't think they're really giving a voice to their directors. Like when you think of Joe and Anthony, the Russo brothers,
Hmm.
they haven't come back after Endgame. They probably want to retire from the thing. But I think them being like such fans, I don't think they want to go anywhere near Marvel now.
There is an interview recorded. It's on record. Them saying that they wanted to do Secret Wars before Secret Wars was even announced.
Hmm.
So there's that. Um,
But the fact
but
that they're
what
not doing it,
maybe we'll see. But let me get back to that because this is part of the second thing that I want to talk about. When did you think Marvel started declining? If you can put a year
after Endgame,
after Endgame.
apart
Okay.
from apart from No Way Home,
Okay.
I think No Way Home is probably the only, because even Far From Home was a decline. That came out after Endgame, and I think
Yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
can say that Far From Home is probably the weakest in
Yeah.
that franchise, even though I really like that movie. But even I can tell you, yes, that is the weakest. So I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
after Endgame, I mean, the hype that there was for Endgame and the fact that it lived up to it is insane.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh
then
yeah.
after that, we had Spider Man, a little bit of a let down. And then I don't remember what happened after that. I just know that No Way Home came out. Sure, that was good, but then you have Doctor Strange, you have um,
Ant Man
Ant
two.
Man,
I mean three. I mean three.
Thor. I
All
mean,
these Disney
dude,
shows.
all the Disney shows, it really hasn't gotten better. And
And
like I
like I
said,
said, that
like
was yeah.
like I said in my other podcast, like the fact that I'm just not excited about Marvel now. Like every time it comes out, it's like, ugh, I don't think it's gonna
And
be
a lot
good.
of people blame that CEO that stepped in 2020
Mm.
when Bob Iger left. When he stepped in, all these things started happening, and that's why he only lasted 2 years because
It's funny when money gets involved, right? Like when they become, like when Iron Man started and all those movies at the beginning, they weren't super popular. They were just making good
no,
movies. Now it's like it's the pressure of you have to keep it going, and like
yeah,
that's just what happens. Nothing can last, I guess. But I don't know. I almost don't want to say that it was like lightning in a bottle, where like all these great movies and they were able to consistently put out good content, and then like
yeah,
how long can you keep that up? You know.
right, yeah,
But I think
and,
I think this is a good sign. I think this is a good sign. I mean,
yeah.
something's not working. Something's got to change. You know.
Something's got to change. And then one more thing I want to ask you. So while I was doing all this research, I learned something interesting. Because all right, so when you think of the Marvel movies, right? Who do we kind of give credit to,
Hmm.
aside from the actors and directors? We look to Kevin Feige, right?
Right.
Like Kevin Feige is the goat. Like Kevin Feige's out here killing it. Well, it's interesting because I Perlmutter was also part of this.
You mean Mr. P?
Mr. P was also part of this. All these movies, all these success until
Mm-hmm.
2015. And I guess what I learned doing this research is there's two school of thoughts in this. There's people that believe that Kevin Feige is the GOAT that carries this team. And then there's other people that say No, the media made you think that it was just Kevin Feige, and then
Mm.
it's gonna get a little political. Sorry. There's this other group of people that apparently, and maybe it was a really small group of people on the internet that believe that no, the mainstream media made you think that it was all Kevin Feige, but Perlmutter was there the whole time too. But remember when I said that he was always seen kind of like the bad guy?
Mm-hmm.
He's not he's infamous for saying things like that the Black Widow movie was never gonna work. He's actually the reason
Mm.
why it never got made.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He's on record saying on leaked emails that it just wouldn't sell a female led superhero movie
Right.
wouldn't sell
I
toys.
remember that it was him that said that.
Yep. He doesn't have the best reputation.
Yeah, for sure.
But apparently there's another school of thought where people say, no, it was Kevin Feige and Perlmutter. And Perlmutter, when he left, when he stopped being also part of the movies, some people they dared to say that that's when Marvel really started dipping. This was in 2015, and where it gets political, that's when they also say Perlmutter, and you think of this what you want to think, but the article I read, I guess the person has a bias. He said that when Perlmutter stopped being part of the movies, this is when you started seeing the quote unquote wokeness in Marvel.
Mm.
Because I guess Perlmutter was part of the reason why he didn't really care about pushing diversity and all these things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Do what you want. Do with that with what you want to do with that. I'm looking at it. I'm like, well, in 2015, they were still making good movies. The whole quote Marvel, I guess it came recently with like the She-Hulk. A lot of people didn't like She-Hulk because of the wokeness or whatever.
I
But
don't know. I don't know if it's because She-Hulk is just not a good show.
right.
But
So apparently there is a group of people that say no when Perlmutter left.
I think so.
That's when it dropped.
My thought is not is gray. I think it's a little bit of both. It's not. I don't think it's either. Is because of Kevin Feige and he did everything good and all the bad ideas came from him, or it's because of him and Kevin Feige didn't help a lot. Like it's not one or the other. It can be
Right.
both. They could probably both had bad ideas and both had great ideas. It's
Right.
impossible to tell. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes, so we don't
Right.
know the conversations. Maybe Kevin Feige pitch the bad things that people don't like. Maybe it was him. Who knows? No one knows. I think it's a little bit of both. And the thing is, like, I think Kevin Feige was probably. I think Kevin Feige has a big part on playing, and something that people like about Marvel up to Endgame is the consistency, and we can give that to we can safely assume that that's because of Kevin Feige. The example I like to bring up is the Star Wars movies, the new ones that came out a few years. Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and Rise of
Kathleen
Skywalker.
something is the name
That
of the lady.
she completely butchered that because those three movies are completely disconnected. They don't make sense together. They're not a trilogy. It's like Force Awakens sets something up, and then Last Jedi doesn't pick it up and just try to do its own thing, and then you have the third one trying to kind of fix what the other one did. That's as disjointed. That's somebody in the producer team, maybe it's her, most likely her, not doing their job and not making sure that, hey, if that's set up, you need to pay it off. Marvel was great at that, and that could have been Kevin Feige, that could have been this guy, Mr. P, whatever, but they at least did that right. And then they also, empower their creatives. They got teams together because they didn't write the movies, they didn't direct it, but they at least perhaps had the right motives to find the people that actually cared. And that's a great part. Again, is we can never know who did what or why something is whatever because we're not looking at the behind the scenes. I think it's great. I think they probably both played their part for good or bad. Is Kevin Feige the person that everybody celebrates? Is he the reason for all that? I don't know. You watch the behind the scenes, everybody praises him. Must be for a reason. Everybody's we talked to Kevin. Kevin's great. He brought me in, whatever. There's a reason to that. There's a motive to that. So.
Oh yeah, and Kevin Feige, he's been in part of Marvel you go back to the first Hulk movie.
which I
He's been
watched
producing.
recently. I watched that
Yeah,
Hulk movie recently. Yeah, his name is on it. I'm like,
he
whoa,
produced all those movies, bro. He was there. He was
X-Men.
there when Hugh Jackman first put on that suit.
Yeah.
He's been there in all these movies. So Kevin Feige, I would give him credit, a lot of credit, because he's been doing the reps throughout the years. Like he was preparing himself for this.
Hey,
So,
he did the time, so
yeah, oh yeah,
you can see the experience.
for sure. And I just want to say one more thing. So remember when I told you to keep this in mind,
Mhm.
that Perlmutter was the one that was in charge of the television department of Marvel,
Mhm.
and he was pushing shows like Agents of Shield and Inhumans that did horrible.
Mhm.
Like Inhumans got canceled. Nobody likes that show. Well, remember that? That was like in 2012 or 2013.
By the way,
one of those
and I want to
years.
say that's a big deal because people say in the industry, you don't get fired for saying no. You get fired for saying yes. Meaning, you don't green lead a show and somebody else picks it up and it's successful. That's your loss, but you're not gonna get fired for that. If you green lead something, you say yes, and it does bad, people get fired for that. That's a really
And
bad thing to do.
and I'm glad the show did horrible, because real quick, just the reason why Inhumans became a thing, it was out of greediness, because at the time Fox owned the X-Men rights, and they were pushing their X-Men movies. So Marvel was being greedy, and they were like, "Oh, you won't let us play with the X-Men? Fine." So Marvel literally started crapping on the X-Men in the comics, and in the movies and the TV shows, they were like, "We're gonna make the Inhumans our X-Men." No, the Inhumans, they don't measure up to the X-Men, bro.
Hmm.
So it was a greedy move, like, "Oh, we're gonna make the Inhumans the new X-Men." So the fact that the Inhumans show comes out, Dario, it was hype. It was supposed to be hype. The first two episodes, they premiered them on IMAX theaters. Like they were extra with it,
Hmm.
only for the show to tank. And now this is where it's funny, and we can end with this. The Inhumans flops, and then you fast forward now to Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel in the comics is an Inhuman,
Oh wow.
and then Kevin Feige just dunks on this guy by saying, "Nah, bro, she's a mutant. She's an
Right.
X-Men, bro. Like, we're not gonna make it the Inhumans. Just screw the Inhumans. The Inhumans are never gonna be in the movies, except
Wow.
for the guy from the Doctor Strange movie. He
Hmm.
can't talk. The one that can't talk.
Yeah, yeah.
He's an Inhuman, but I just find it hilarious how Kevin Feige, because remember, this is the guy that wanted Kevin Feige fired in 2015.
Yeah.
So the fact that Kevin Feige flipped it on him and like dunked on him with this, like, no, Ms. Marvel, the most famous Inhuman in the comics, nah, she's a mutant
Yeah.
in the movies now.
That's
I
hilarious.
find it hilarious, bro. And Kevin Feige just dunked on this guy doing that. So
That's hilarious.
yeah. So fun fact.
All right, that was good. That's a good. Well done. Well done on your research. I think this was a very informative episode. I love talking about this. This is very interesting. So I'm glad we got to do the media part of it. Should we say that thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing?
Yeah, I want to know if this gets any comments. I just want it to be comments about what do you think is gonna happen now. I think we're in a very important time for Marvel. Like the next move after Guardians could either break or make Marvel. I think maybe even with the Guardians. Like right now, they're in a very tricky place
Yeah.
where they've been flopping lately. So yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. We'll see. What do you guys think? Let us know.
Let us know in the comments below. Awesome, very interesting. We might, if more
sure.
news come out, maybe the next episode we have a little segment and we keep talking about it.
Yeah,
But,
we'll definitely keep up with this.
Yeah, follow us on our social media. Thanks for watching, and cut.